Hey guys, welcome back. So this is, at least for me, the most fun part about the music production process. I love, of course, creating chords, creating melodies, and really feeling it, but I love to work with samples as well because they have this kind of randomness to it, and they kind of, you kind of find gems in an unexpected way. And this is what it makes so fun for me. So I usually start exactly the same way. I have chords, I have the bass, and now I just look up for some cool loops, one shots that add feeling to this track. And I was looking for some kind of pluggy sample, and I found this. So I was immediately inspired by this. As you can see, this one is in D sharp minor. My track is in D minor. So I just had to reduce it by one semitone in order to have this in D minor. And rather than just simply playing it over my own sample, I like to play around with volumes, with reverb, delays, and all that kind of stuff. So first off, I chopped it. Like I deleted the second parts of the bars. And then just created a fade in. So you have the impact of your own chords, but then have the sample coming in midway. And just to give it more space, just add a lot of delay and a lot of reverb to it. It's a little bit loud here, but we can reduce it even further. Make the chorus louder. And this section here, you have to play around with it. You have to kind of make up the bits you like. And then just, you can go to the sample, and if you have loop enabled, you can just browse through everything and kind of see what sounds good. I liked it like it is, so I just grabbed it and copy pasted it over the length of 8 bars, and now we have this. There's a lot of rumbling going on here, so I don't need that. And also I paid attention to that the chords are almost all notes are playing beneath 1000 kilohertz. And this is starting at 1000 kilohertz almost. So mixing gets easier when your elements don't share the same frequency area. I felt like we need something to separate because the chords are repeating after 4 bars. So I think we need something to introduce the next section and kind of complete the first 4 bars. So I found this loop here. I just grabbed it here, and I knew I wanted to have something that kind of ends this phrase. So again, I did the same fade in, and as this is in D minor, like my chords, I don't have to transpose anything. Let's hear it. Not what I'm looking for. And this is where it comes in handy that I just can grab the marker and see what sounds good. And this feels too fast for me. So this sample was originally written in 150 BPM, but Ableton recognizes this as 75. What we can do here is just double the length of it. And now it plays at half speed. Oh, this is good. Again, put a lot of delay and reverb to it, just to put it in the back, and kind of gives this some sort of mythical and atmospheric feeling. Also reduce the volume. Cool. We can even narrow it down again. Beautiful. Let's add in even another sample. So I always like to have some sort of vocal chops, and I came across this vocal.
Tearing out pieces.
Really mellow vocal. Really sounds already a lot of lo-fi because no highs going on here. But let's use this. So this sample is in A minor. We wanted to have it in D. So 1 semitone A sharp, 2 semitones B, C, C sharp, D. We have it in D minor now. And so let's find cool spots. And we don't want this to interrupt the sample we applied first. So let's drag and drop this to this part here. Let's listen to it. Though those two samples kinda create a complete melodic section. Now let's take a look at the second part. This is cool. Let's go to this section again. And maybe use the same part, but with some pause in between, like here. So those samples are starting at pretty rough edges, so I just want to add little fade-ins here so we get rid of all those clicks and artifacts. Again, put a lot of reverb and delay on it. We don't need a third vocal here because we have this sample finishing the phrase. But I still feel like this vocal is really edgy. So let's process it even further. Another cool plugin that is not from Ableton is from Soundnoise, and it's called the Little Altar Boy. And this one is a pitch and formant shifter, and you can kind of lower the feel of a track by shifting the formants, but it's not changing the key of the track. So if we reduce it by -5, it will sound like it's a fifth below, but it's actually not. We can use the erosion tool like we did with the hi-hat to add some bit crushing effect to it and get rid of those harsh mid frequencies and really just narrow it down to the area where it belongs. Cool. So we have this sample here that kind of sets the mood for it. We have kind of a counter melody with the vocal, and this crushed synth is ending the phrase after 4 bars. I don't think we need this sample right here because we have the variation in the chords going on. We don't want to kind of overwhelm the listener. And the last sample I used in this track was a saxophone sample. And this is pretty cool, and I highly recommend that if you don't play saxophone or, you know, some sort of brass instrument, that you just go to Fiverr and send them a track, maybe just some chords or whatever, and let them record you some phrases, whatever, because once in my lifetime I asked a girl on Fiverr, she was an Italian girl, if she could play me some saxophone, and I paid, I think, $30 for 2 minutes of recordings, and I'm utilizing those saxophone samples. Like, I don't know how many tracks I made with this, but I sent her a track in B minor, so I'd need to transpose this to D. But again, she recorded so many phrases, licks, and bends that I can just grab the best parts of this and apply this to this track. So I already edited the saxophone sample to find the good spots. It would take too much time to do it now live with you, but I found that a long note at the start at -9, which is an octave below the +3. Found this little phrase here, and with all those recordings going on here, I was able to have more phrases going on at the second part. So from an 8-bar loop, just because we have so much saxophone samples and so much material going on, we could easily make this an interesting 16-bar loop. And you just want, you know, I was just browsing through all this and try to find some melodic phrases that are sounding good together. Then I just applied an EQ to really narrow it down again, because I don't want to have any low frequencies that I don't need, and I don't want to have any high frequencies that I don't need. I applied some compression because Some phrases are louder, some are quieter. Some delay. This is a different delay from what I have in the return channel. And some reverb and some slight panning. And this is kind of functioning as a lead to all the, in contrast to all the other elements. So it works out pretty well. Maybe increase the volume. Even increase the frequency range just to hear it a little bit better. Awesome. Copy the drums. And now we have a cool 16-bar loop just because we had the saxophone playing and having so many different options for phrases that we could easily extend it to 16 bars and still keep it interesting. Cool. So just to sum this up, for using samples, I mean, of course, you can just use them as they are and drag and drop those loops into your project, but I think this will just kind of get boring fast, and also other producers could easily copy your sound. So try to come up with something creative. I always chop my samples, I always transpose them, I always EQ them, and kind of use them in a creative way that I create new melodic phrases by combining samples. Make sure your samples are on the right key, and kind of pay attention to what your chord progression does and how your sample complements what you do. So you don't want to overload your track and overload the melodic content. You want every sample to fulfill some sort of purpose. Then for live recordings, especially for brass, it's really difficult to emulate a good brass, and to, of course you could buy some contact libraries, but I feel like, especially for this kind of moody, jazzy vibe, you just want to go to Fiverr, send them your track, ask them if they could record 1 or 2 minutes, and then you will have a supply of sample material, phrases, licks for basically your lifetime. I mean, I got these samples in 2018, and I'm still using them for this track, for my other tracks. I even got a second saxophone. I got some flute recordings from Fiverr. It's really cool. It's really worth it because no one else has these samples, and it kind of helps you to keep your tracks interesting and have some melodic content going on that no one else can emulate. In the next section, we're going to have a look at some lead instruments for your breakdown and your second part of your track, and also some added recordings. See you then.